world? Welcome to another episode of Be Love TV. I'm Pastor Willie, and I'm excited about this privilege for us to think deeply and dig in a little more closely to this concept of not just showing love and receiving love, but actually being love. That means embodying love and unleashing life. That's what we're about here. And I'm excited that we have a wonderful thought partner, a wonderful guest with us today, Dr. Thomas Miller. He is a physician in our area, and I'm grateful for the not just the sincerity that he brings to the work, not just the significant skill that he brings to the work of medicine, but I'm grateful that he is committed to communities that are vulnerable, communities that are underserved, and communities that have historically had disparately poor health outcomes. And so welcome, Dr. Miller, to Be Love TV.
Well, thank you. It's it's my pleasure to be here, and I am so grateful that you thought of me to come out to share this time with the community today.
Surely. So the first question I ask every guest is, what makes you come alive?
Honestly, I got to tell you, the thing that really gives me the greatest passion is being able to help people, especially in our community. And I know many times people, when we think about our community, people will say that's, maybe being racist or thinking too much of one race than the other. But I always felt that in my heart that it is so important to help our community in terms of health and wellness, helping them to reach their potential. So one of my I call my mission and passion is to help people get healthy, stay healthy, and live the best life possible. And the only way we can do that is we have to be able to understand what are those things that we need to do to actually have that kind of life that we want. And especially for those of us who are believers.
Sure.
If we say we believe, if we're people who believe in scriptures, then I firmly believe that we have to take what God has given us and apply it to our lives. And I firmly believe that when we apply those things that he's given us to do in terms of how to eat, following his commandments, his statutes and laws, if we do those things, we're going to be able to thrive. That's and it doesn't mean in any way that we're not going to go through struggles.
Sure.
That's the way life is. We have the ebbs and flows of life, and the key for us is to learn how to somehow navigate our way through the middle of that.
Sure.
And understand and accept the fact that we're going to have highs, we're going to have lows. And it depends on our perspective in terms of how we deal with those things.
Sure. Well, like the whole world knows, that we have paused. Our economy has come to a screeching halt, and everybody's at home right now. 90% of the country is under stay-at-home order. Whether or not they're acknowledging that, observing that, is another question to be determined. But we're at home now, and really, I want us to today to really think about how our diets impact our lives, and what this quarantine and the trauma connected to this quarantine is doing to how we eat and informing our eating selections, our eating, our appetites right now. A concept that you have introduced me to, and one that I think is so provocative, is the idea of genocide by diet. Can you share with us some of the fundamentals of what you mean, or what is meant by genocide by diet, and who's dying in that, in that war?
Absolutely. I mean, when you think about it, as a young person, and I think this is something that God has given me as a young person growing up, I've always been interested in health and wellness. And as a young person, I was interested in fitness. I remember there was a point in my life I would ask the question, how is it possible for those who are in power or whatever can predict in our communities that by a certain age you're going to have high blood pressure, hypertension, diabetes, or what have you. And I'm thinking to myself as I'm growing and learning this stuff, that the only way that we can predict that is if we, or if they, or whoever is managing this whole thing, has some idea about your diet. So even like today, if we look around our communities, what do we have popping up? dollar stores, they're everywhere. And what's in them? There's nothing but junk. Okay? Cakes, cookies, candies, high fructose corn syrup, all the stuff that's in those diets. And, I recall before the schools, were closed down, as I would leave my house and drive through Pleasantville to get to my office, I would see young people going to the middle school and to the high school walking, and they were, consuming potato chips, pretzels, sodas, and that is not a diet for young people to be on the first thing in the morning going into a classroom. And then, they get into the classroom, and if you're putting that kind of food into your body, it's going to wreak havoc on your nervous system. It's going to wreak havoc on your brain system, and you're not going to be able to function well. So we know for a fact that when we consume diets of high sugar, processed foods, fried foods, it's going to have an impact on our overall health. And if you look in our communities, we have the highest rates of high blood pressure, hypertension, high cholesterol, and diabetes. And so the solution that is given to us is what? Take some drugs. So the people who benefit from that are going to be pharmaceutical companies. Okay? And we have the same scenario going on today. And I don't want to be one who's thinking in terms of being a conspiracy or anything like that. But if we look at what's going on, if we learn, for example, I have my little apple cider vinegar and water here, okay? It's something I do every single morning. I recommend it to people. You have to make sure you hydrate yourself with lots of water throughout the day. Not soda, not Kool-Aid, not Gatorade, none of those sources, because they're all loaded, right, with sugar and toxins that are doing the body no good at all. So you put that into a young child at an early age, there's no way in the world they're going to be able to function well.
Wow.
They can't.
Wow.
In that kind of environment. So parents have to be responsible. We have to take out the time to make sure that we put the right foods into our bodies. Now, does that mean we're going to do it all the time consistently? No. Do I go off track? Absolutely. But I have enough enough knowledge to know, right, that I may, have a piece of cake, cookie, or candy, but I'm not going to make that a daily thing in my life all the time.
Now, what does your weekly diet look like?
So I'll give you an example of what I do, okay? I get up in the morning, like this morning I got up, we years ago when we, one of the things I've always believed in is having infrared sauna, and I recommend that if you can afford to do, and they're not that expensive to have, but put that in your house, number one. If you can have your shower converted into a steam shower, do that. Not expensive at all to do, okay? So I make sure that every other day I'm either going to be in the sauna for 45 minutes to an hour or the steam room, okay? Putting eucalyptus, all this kind of stuff, essential oils in there so you can get your lungs and everything cleaned out. In an infrared sauna, what it does, it actually heats the body from the inside out, so it's pushing all the toxins out of the system, okay? When I get up in the morning, I make sure I hydrate. So I try to drink in the morning about 32 ounces of water, in which I put about an ounce of Bragg's apple cider vinegar, a little bit of lemon, okay? Shake it up and drink that down. So I try to have that in the morning before 12 o'clock.
Okay.
Around 11:30, 12 o'clock, like I haven't eaten anything yet, because what I believe is that if we allow our system a chance to be able to digest and assimilate everything that we put into that body about 12 hours from the time that we stop eating. So if I have my last meal at 8 o'clock at night, and I don't eat anything other than drink water when I get up in the morning until 12 o'clock, that's 12 hours. That's actually, 16 hours where I have not put anything in my body. So what does that do? It gives my body the opportunity, all right, to clean itself out, to go into a fat-burning cycle, and it gives the body and the system and the organs a chance to rest, restore, and re-heal itself. So at 12 o'clock, what I do is I have a blender called a NutriBullet, and this is a thing I tell every patient of mine. You must have a NutriBullet in your house. You must have a Breville juicer. Those two pieces of the thing you have to have. because you can start healing yourself by doing these things. So when I get up in the morning, I'll take my blender. I'll put in it a handful, a large handful of spinach, a piece of garlic clove. I have some protein that I put into it, just a bunch of stuff. Glutamine, which is good for helping balance the blood sugar level. Arginine, which is an amino acid that helps to cause vasodilation, which is very good for people to help their heart system to function better and have their arteries function better. Blend that stuff up, and I drink it down. So that's my, what I call breaking the fast. Breakfast, breaking the fast at that time of the day. So I'm putting high nutrient-dense food into my body so that my body can work efficiently. Right? And so then, typically when the gyms were open, at 1 o'clock I would go to the gym Monday through Friday, really work out hard and rigorous, get back to the office around 3 o'clock. And then during that period of time, I would actually have some fruit, okay? When I go home at night, I make sure that we have a lot of fiber into our diet. Dinner time would maybe consist of a salad, maybe some ground turkey or something like that, but mainly a lean and green meal plan. Trying to stay away from breads and pastas and just all the junk food. You understand? And if we do that on a consistent basis, then make sure that we get adequate sleep, right? And the other thing becomes very central is that we must put aside time every single day to go into a deep state of prayer and meditation. Why? Because we have to connect with our Creator. If we don't have that connection, then we're going to disconnect. And that's what I think that when we look at what's happening in the world today, with what's going on right now, we're all in isolation. But I tell you what, if you take advantage of that and spend quality time with your family and also spend quality time developing your relationship with God, we're going to make it out of this. It's the only thing that we can do, because reality, no matter what.
When we talk about genocide by diet, it sounds like we're digging our graves with our teeth. And we don't even know it.
Absolutely.
Now part of what, there are a few things you named here, and I can imagine that there's some people who heard this and say, no, that's just too expensive. There's so many people who think that healthy eating and the other kind of wellness precautions and wellness proactivities that you were naming are too expensive. But I'm starting to, I know for sure, and I'm trying to figure out ways to communicate that unhealthy eating, unhealthy living is actually more expensive than healthy eating.
Absolutely. I mean, think about it. You're paying for it twice when you think about it. If you're eating unhealthy, you're paying, people go to the dollar store and they get all this stuff and they think they're really getting quality. They're not. The food that they're putting into their body is literally killing them. It's killing them, okay? And the sad part about it is that they don't know that it's killing them because it's degenerating their brain cells. So you can't think anymore. People eat a lot of sugar, and I've been so guilty of that over my life, because as young people, as we grew up, I remember my mother would always say, if you eat all your dinner, we'll give you dessert. So that became a ritual, right? And after a while, I just make sure I eat my dinner so I can get my dessert, right? But what we have to realize is that when we consume that stuff, it changes your whole electromolecular system, breaks the tissues down. You can't think anymore. You've heard the term brain fog. When you consume enough sugar is more addictive than cocaine. And we know that's a fact. Okay? You put sugar in somebody's gas tank, it destroys the engine. So what do you think it's doing to our bodies? Okay? And then when we talk about the affordability of something, I can go to the produce junction or wherever you want to go to buy produce and buy it in bulk, and it lasts us for the whole week. So you can't tell me. You could tell me this, but I think that the key is we've gotten used to taste versus what's right. Okay? So I don't like water. People, you hear that all the time. Why? I don't like it. Why don't you like water? Well, I don't like the way it tastes. Well, water doesn't have any taste. But what you're telling me is that you've gotten used to drinking Kool-Aid that's loaded with sugar, artificial coloring. The same thing with Gatorade. Think about it. I'm 67 now. So I go back when I was in high school, And Gatorade, when we would go out and play sports, when it came time to take a break to get Gatorade, it was saline and water. Saline and water, which was good for the system because you're getting the salt back in, you're getting electrolytes back in. What is it? What's Gatorade today? It's nothing but sugar, sugared water, a little bit of saline in it, but most of it is high fructose corn syrup, right? And you consume that over a period of time, it's going to tear you up. So we can, in fact, go to a produce store and buy what we need, but we have to learn how to train our taste buds so you understand that what you're putting into your body is going to produce life instead of death. So why I say that we're paying for it twice, you go out and buy the cakes, cookies, candies, all the junk food, going to Kentucky Fried Chicken, McDonald's, Burger King, and all these fatty foods that are loading your arteries up and clogging you down. Then as time goes on, high blood pressure, hypertension, diabetes, kidney dialysis, amputations.
Yeah.
It's rampant in our communities, right? So now you got to pay for that. And then on top of that, now we got one of the biggest issues that are affecting us in America today is what? Alzheimer's and dementia. Where's that coming from? Dementia is nothing but a diabetes of the brain.
Wow.
That's all it is.
Wow.
It's diabetes of the brain. Your brain cells are dying.
Wow.
When you eat and consume a lot of sugar, you cut off the body's ability to produce and send out oxygenated blood to all the extremities of the body. If you can't get oxygen to your extremities, then what happens? Oh, that's when they start coming in and cutting your toe off, cut your foot off, cut your leg off, and before you know it, you're in a wheelchair. Can't do anything. And now you're dependent on whoever to try to get you to make it through life.
I think this is a powerful point to think about food as brain nourishing. You know, we think about food to fill an appetite, to curb a hunger, but do we actually think about how what we're putting in our body affects our brains? And particularly as you mentioned early on, talking about what students are eating on their way to school.
Yes.
So can you help us think through how food is brain nourishing, how even more how food affects our bodies, but also in what ways are we unknowingly, unconsciously participating in some of the challenges that our students are having because of the diets that we're instituting and perpetuating at home?
Right. I mean, you think about it. You know, we think that we can just like quickly throw things at kids. You know, go to take them to McDonald's. When we were growing up, man, going to McDonald's was like a treat. Now it's a daily habit for parents. Okay, are eating junk, right? How can we tell our children not to if we're eating it? It's the same thing. If you have two parents in the house who are you know, drug addicted, how are you going to tell your child not to do this? And if they see you doing it, you can tell them all day long, but what they see mom and dad do, they're going to do what? They're going to eventually wind up doing it. So we have to take the time out. And there's so many good things out there. Today we're very fortunate because you can go to YouTube. Man, I could tell you people like there's a Dr. Mills, there's a Dr. McDougall. A lot of these programs that they have today, they're trying to get them into hospitals. T. Colin Campbell, the education is out there to teach people, to help them understand that the best way to function today in this world is you really need to be on a whole food plant-based diet. That's my opinion. I mean, I'm not saying you have to knock out all the animal protein, but I think the human being in most cases will function most efficiently on a whole food plant-based diet for those who choose to, and I happen to choose to on occasion, is making sure you have some lean protein, which could be fish, you know, certain, and you got to be careful with the way they process chickens and things today.
Sure.
We have to be very mindful of what they're doing and what they're putting into foods.
Sure.
Okay, things I stay away from, and it's all biblical. I stay away from everything the Bible says don't put in my body. Okay, no shrimp, no scallops, none of that bottom feeders. No pork, because it's scriptural. So I follow that. And I notice that people do that because even if we look at the Seventh-day Adventists,
Sure.
probably some of the healthiest people on the planet. Why? Because they follow principles.
Sure.
Why can't we do it? If we teach our kids to do it, if we practice it, it can happen. Just like in our communities right now, and I may be jumping off course. If in our communities, if we practice peace, like you said something earlier about being love, and that's the model. We got to be before we do, before we have. So we have to have a mindset of beingness before we can do something, before we can have it.
Sure.
But the culture we live in America, it's backwards. We want to have it first. So if I have this, I'll do this, and I'll be this way. Don't work that way.
Wow.
Nature doesn't work that way.
Sure.
You know? So if we understand those principles and then live them, then we can see a transformation occur within our communities. But it first has to start with us as individuals. And in our homes, we have to be the ones to set the standard. And when we set that standard, you know, we always hear the story, you know, charity begins at home. We have to start that at home. And then I had a person come to my office one day. Early, it was in the morning. I had a young child with them. And they had the child with a Hershey candy bar, 9 o'clock in the morning. And I said, why would you give that to your child? Well, you don't know my child. If I don't give that to him, he would just, well, who's shopping? He's 4 years old. You can't tell me he's going to the grocery store or the corner store buying that stuff. We can train our young people to have a taste for the right foods that's going to nourish their bodies, nourish their brain. I would promise people today that if we took our elementary schools, took all the sugar out of the school system, teach our parents, don't feed your kids cakes, cookies, candies. And I'm not saying keep it away from them, but allow them to have it 1 day a week as a treat. Watch what would happen to your education system. Watch what would happen to crime in communities. It would go down. It's been proven. You change diet, you change people's behavior.
So a significant part of having high quality public health is connected to what's on the table.
Absolutely.
Now,
absolutely.
We're all at home right now, and I can imagine that some of the trauma of being isolated, some of the trauma of feeling alienated is leading to emotional eating, eating with impulses for comfort, or this search for comfort. Can you help us think through how we identify when we're comfort eating and how we can sort of break that cycle? Because I imagine that mental health is also connected to our diet.
Absolutely. So what we have to do when we look at that whole scenario is we really have to pause. You know, one of the things that I practice is an acronym called BOSS. The B stands for be aware. All right? Just be aware of what's going on around you. All right? What we're going through right now is probably something we haven't seen in a long time. Smaller scales, but not to the extent that we see it now. So we got to be aware. O, observe. Observe what's going on. Observe what's going on in your home. Observe what's going on in your life. Observe what's going on in your children's lives. S, slow down. Just slow down. You young people say, take a chill pill. Slow down. And I don't want that to be my first thing in the morning, and I don't want to take that to bed with me at night.
Sure.
You understand? So if we understand, that's one way that we can manage our anxiety, okay? And we also have to take a broader look at everything. For those of us who firmly believe in God, we have to understand that there's an innate, inborn intelligence that God has put in all of us.
I like that.
Okay? It's in every one of us. So if we know that, then we have to take the time throughout the day to go somewhere in your house, go for a walk, and take your time and commune with God. You know? That brings about a level of peace and awareness. We talk about that peace that surpasses all understanding. Man, you got to get in that place. You have to make it a priority every single day to connect with that which controls, that brought you here, that sustains you, you have to do that every single day. Because if you don't, who are you going to believe? You're going to believe what's out there in the world that's constantly bombarding us every single day. Every single day. These number of people died. Most people don't know that the third leading cause of death in America, you know what it is? Most people don't know. Number one is heart disease, and then two is cancer. Mm-hmm. But the third leading cause of death in America is medicine. Now, I'm not saying that to knock medicine, but is that on national news?
Right.
No, it's not on national news. But it's a fact. Why isn't that a big alarming thing? The number of children, women who have abortions every day in America. The great thing is that since this has occurred, that's gone down. You know, there's so many things that occur around us. It's all about perspective, how you look at and how you see things. You know, people, ask me, well, Doc, are you afraid? No, I'm not. I'm taking good care of myself. One thing I do know for a fact, which doesn't cause me to be afraid, is I know that I'm going to die. I know that. I've looked at life long enough to know that I'm going to die. Right? And because I know that, I don't care what they throw at me. Corona, this, that, or the other, I'm going to die anyway. So I'm going to make the best of it. So my suggestion to people out today is, what can you do in this moment right now to start thinking about how you can better the world?
Good. Yeah.
As opposed to allowing them to tell you how the world's coming down, what can you do with your family to make your family better in this moment? What things can you do? My wife and my two boys this last week, I'm telling you, we are a connected family, but we've become more connected. We spent time this week was it last night before we played Scrabble? We haven't done it in a while. We played spades, right? So we're doing things to cause connection, because that's what we need. Human beings need connection.
Exactly.
You understand? Even when it comes to our spirituality. Now, I know they've isolated us to say, okay, we can't go to church. We still have to make sure that we stay connected, because the worst thing that can happen to us is isolation. Yeah. You divide, conquer. You understand? So if we divide ourselves and we don't stay connected spiritually, you're dead. Yeah. You understand? So we have to keep that dialogue going and helping each other understand that there's a God force out there that runs this show, even though that world that we see out there, I call it the world of Caesar, makes you think otherwise. You understand? Yeah. So there are things, exercise. I know that I'm a gym rat. And I tell you, it's just been frustrating for the last few weeks that the gyms have been closed. Okay? And thank God my son went out and when this first happened, he was able to find someone who was selling a set of weights. So we got them in the gym, not the gym, but in our garage, and we got everything set up now. So I just got to get my mind wrapped into getting back into my garage and start working out. So my son's putting up a pull-up bar today. So you got to get out and you do some rigorous exercise. People are stressing, and like you had mentioned something earlier about in being in close proximity with each other. It's good there's good about it, and it could be bad, especially if there's a situation where there's tension within the family. Sure. Okay? So one of the suggestions I always recommend that when people are under a great deal of stress and tension is get out and do physical exercise, but do it in a way that is very rigorous. There's something about when you go out and work your body out real hard, that it clears everything out. You can think better, you can focus better. Okay? So those are some of the things I think that if we were to do them, I think that we can make some inroads in terms of what in dealing with what we're going through with this crisis right now.
Yes, sir. thank you, Dr. Miller, for giving us this time. And I know that the Be Love Nation has been enriched because of your expertise, because of your passion for this work, and because of your general, broad, expansive love for humanity, particularly black folk in America. So thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you
today.
for allowing me to be here. It's been a pleasure.
Amen. Make sure, Be Love Nation, that you are sharing this, like this, whether it's Twitter, whether it's Instagram, whether you're texting this or emailing this. Let's get this to as many people as you can. We want to make sure that as we are weathering this particular experience, as we are trying to make sense and make meaning out of where we are and redefining who we want to be in this world, that we are sharing all the jewels, all the richness that we are receiving in these classrooms that have become our home. So make sure you're sharing this, and we'll be right back next week at this same time, this same place. And so until then and beyond, be love. Peace.